Math Chapter 9, Length in Metric Units. Today's lesson is Lesson 9.6, Estimate Lengths in Meters. Remember, when thinking about a meter stick, there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. A meter stick is different from a yardstick. A yardstick measures in inches or feet. They are a different length. Let's take a look at the Listen and Draw section in your problem set first. It said we needed to find an object that is about 10 centimeters long. Draw and label it. Well, I searched around my house and I found a sponge and an expo marker. Both of those were close to 10 centimeters long. Go ahead and look around your house and find a couple objects that you can draw and label that are close or about 10 centimeters long. Remember, you can pause at any point in the video so that you can stop and complete each section. The second part of the Listen and Draw said, is there a classroom object that is about 50 centimeters long? Draw and label it. Well, it turns out that my friend Yoda is about 50 centimeters tall. So you'll take a look there. I have a meter stick lined up next to him, and you can see he's very close to being about 50 centimeters tall. Go ahead and look around your house. See if you can find something that's about 50 centimeters tall or long. Today's I can statement. I can estimate lengths in meters. Remember, estimate means, or an estimate is an amount that tells about how many. You're basically making a very smart guess based on what you already know. So let's take a look at the model and draw. It says estimate about how many meter sticks will match the width of a door. A 1 meter measuring stick is about 100 centimeters long. Well, the door is actually a really great what we call benchmark. It helps us remember about how long 1 meter is in our heads. And we'll think back to that as we're completing the rest of this problem set. So a door, or the width of a door, see where the line is, the width is going across the bottom or across the top, is about 1 meter. So remember that as we go forward through our problem set. Let's take a look at the share and show and the on your own section. It says, because we are not at school, you may not have some of the objects we need to estimate today. So we are going to do the problem set a little differently today. Picture each of the objects in your head and help me come up with an estimate. Remember to use the bottom of a door as your benchmark. So remember, the bottom of a door is about 1 meter long. So think to yourself, when we look at each of these objects, is this object more or less or close to the same as the width of the bottom of the door? So the first object we need to think about is a bookshelf. So imagine the bookshelf in our classroom. Estimate the length in meters. Think about our bookshelf. Is it close to about the same width as the bottom of the door? About how many meters would you estimate the bookshelf to be? Go ahead and say your answer out loud. Let's see if you guessed the same estimate that I did. The bookshelf is about 2 meters. It's a little bit longer than the width of the door, so I went with 2 meters. If you were thinking 1 meter, I could see where you would get that answer too. The next object we need to measure or estimate is the bulletin board. So again, picture the big bulletin board in the back of our classroom, the one that has our spelling and vocab and sight words on it. That's a long bulletin board. Go ahead right now. How many meters do you think would be a good estimate for the bulletin board? Did you guess 4? Then you had the same estimate as me. If you were thinking 5, I could see where you would think that was the correct answer too. Remember, an estimate is a guess as to about how long something is. So if you said 5, that would be okay too. The next object that we need to estimate is a teacher's desk. Well, you guys know I don't have a desk in my classroom anymore. However, there are many different teacher's desks throughout the building that we've all seen. Think about a teacher's desk. Is it longer than the width of a door? Definitely. Is it a lot longer? Not really. So what do you think would be a good estimate for this one? Did you say 2 meters? I hope so. Our next object is the wall. Think about the length of the entire wall in our classroom. Well, I know the wall is longer than the bulletin board that we already estimated, so my estimate has to be more than 4. Think about how many meter sticks or about how many doors you could line up next to each other. How many meters long do you think the wall is? I went with 7 for my estimate. I almost thought about putting 8 though. Either of those would be a good estimate for the length of the wall in our classroom. The next object we need to look at is a window. Now, every window is a different length. Some of them are very similar, though. Take a look at the window that you might have right there in your bedroom or in the kitchen or wherever you may be working today. About how long do you think the bottom or the width of the window is in meters? What's your estimate? About 1 meter would be a good estimate. Now, maybe you have a really big window and you might have said 2 meters. Again, those would both be okay estimates, depending on the window you're looking at. The last object we need to estimate is a chalkboard. Well, we don't have a chalkboard in our classroom, but we do have a whiteboard or a smartboard. So let's estimate about how long the smartboard is. Again, I can kind of use some of my other estimates to help me figure out what would be a good estimate for the whiteboard. I know that it's not quite as long as the bulletin board in our classroom. So my estimate is 3 meters. I think that would be a good estimate for our smartboard. All right, make sure you filled in all of the estimates for the different objects on these 2 pages, and let's move on to the back of our problem set. So the first Think Smarter question wanted us to estimate the distance from the teacher's desk to the classroom door. We're going to skip that one today because, as I said before, we don't have a teacher's desk in our classroom, and it'd be kind of a hard one to estimate, seeing as we don't. Therefore, our last problem is also a Think Smarter question. It says, estimate the length of an adult's bicycle. Fill in the bubble next to all the sentences that are true. So that means more than one of these could be filled in. Now remember, it's not talking about that tiny picture of a bike. It wants you to really think about an adult's bicycle. So think about mom or dad's bicycle. About how long is it from one tire to the end of the other tire? Do you think the bicycle is about 2 meters long? So if I put 2 meter sticks next to each other, is that a good estimate for how long it is? Yes, I agree. It definitely is. So go ahead and fill in that bubble. The next sentence says the bicycle is about 200 centimeters long. Well, if 1 meter is 100 centimeters, 2 meters is 200 centimeters. So if I said that the first sentence is true, 200 centimeters is the same as 2 meters. So this would have to be true also. The bicycle is less than 1 meter long. Well, that can't be right because I just said it's about 2 meters long, so it wouldn't be shorter. How about the bicycle is about 2 centimeters long? Well, imagine again those centimeter cubes that we used. Would it only be the length of 2 of those? Definitely not. You'd be able to step on that with your foot, it'd be so small. The last one says the bicycle is more than 200 meters long. Again, picture 200 meter sticks lined up side by side by side. That'd be the biggest bike in the world. I don't think anyone would be able to ride that. All right, we finished up our problem set. Go ahead and fill in your homework, take your time, and do a great job. Remember, you're estimating, so it's about how long something is, but it's also a very smart, educated guess. So think about what you already know and use the bottom of your door in your bedroom, in your kitchen, as a benchmark to help you think about how long 1 meter is. All right, keep up that great work.